Welcome to the Dogs Made Easy podcast, your go to podcast for unlocking the secrets of dog sports, enrichment, and everything fun for your dog. Whether you're a seasoned handler or just starting your journey into the exciting world of canine activities, we bring you expert interviews, insightful tips, and inspiring stories to help you and your pup thrive. Let's jump in. Hello, everybody. This is Barb King with Dogs Made Easy, and today I am interviewing Kat Albrecht-Theissen from Missing Animal Response Network. She is very involved in finding lost pets, basically. So this is kind of weird for me because I've known her online for a number of years through taking her stuff, and actually seeing her face is also a little different, right? So Kat, tell us a bit about who you are.
Thanks, Barb. Well, I'm a pet detective. I'm a police detective turned pet detective, and been involved with dogs all my life. And you want me to just start in with?
Yeah, just start in. Tell us the background story.
Yeah, okay.
If you want more details, you can buy our book. There'll be
details.
Yeah,
that's true. So I was raised in Central California in the Fresno area, and my family always had a dog. But when I was 20, I saw a documentary. It was I call him the Shark Man. It was a biologist who loved sharks. I mean, that was his passion, right? And he was being interviewed about them, and the producer who was interviewing him said, "So you seem to love sharks. Do you love your job?" Or he said, I love sharks. So when I was a kid, I'd swim in the pool, pretend I was a shark. I'd watch shark videos. I love sharks. And so for me to do what you call work, it isn't work at all, because it's my passion. And if you ever have a chance to be paid for your passion, then something like you've arrived, right? And I thought at the time I was a 911 dispatcher. I hated my job. I loved my off-duty time because my first dog was a Weimaraner mix, and I trained her in flyball. And this was like in 1983 when flyball was just beginning, 83 or 85, I don't remember. And agility was just getting started as well a couple years after that. And so I began, involved in dog sports, but I thought to myself, why is it that I hate my job and I live for my days off of when I can play with and train and work with my dogs, right? And so I just dismissed the idea that I'll never get paid for doing what is my passion. Well, fast forward 10 years later, I read a book about police bloodhounds. No, that's not true. I read an article about cadaver dogs, and I was fascinated with that. And I'd always loved Weimaraners, and I thought, and in this article, it was a Dog World article. It had a picture of German Shepherd, German Shepherd, German Shepherd, German Shorthair Pointer. And I said, if a German Shorthair Pointer can do this, so can a Weimaraner. I'm going to get a Weimaraner, and I'm a trainer to find dead people. And my family thought I was nuts, right? And I didn't realize that you had to, and because I had always had a love for law enforcement. In fact, when I was 13, I knew I wanted to become a cop, but then went and worked at a police agency as a dispatcher and hated it and thought I want out of law enforcement. But this was like, wait a minute, I could train a dog to do this and help on criminal cases and have somehow a touch back into law enforcement. And so I got my first puppy, a Weimaraner puppy that I named Rachel, and began training her and realized you can't just train to find just dead people. You got to also train to find live people. And so got involved in search and rescue work with her. And it was about a year and a half into training her that I read a book about police bloodhounds, and then realized, hey, I could go to the police academy, get a bloodhound, and get paid for my passion. Wow. And I did, so I went to the police academy, got my first bloodhound, trained him, and totally was blackballed by the police department I worked for. They did not want bloodhounds there. I didn't, know that as a rookie female cop, you don't just proclaim that you're going to work a dog because that's a coveted position, right? Even though it was the reason I became a police officer, right? Well, eventually I did get a police work for a police agency agency that allowed me to use my dogs, both my cadaver dog, Rachel, and my bloodhound, AJ. I began finding physical evidence on homicide cases and tracking missing people, and captured a couple criminals, and did, I was being paid. I was living the dream. I was being paid to work with my dogs until one day in 1996, my bloodhound AJ dug out from my yard and was missing. And so suddenly I'm the panic pet owner needing to find my police dog. And I called the sheriff's department, an agency that I'd taken AJ out on many cases for them. 4 a.m, they'd call me. I'd come out and tromp in the woods to track a missing person. And yet when I called and asked them, can you help me come look for my dog? They're like, sorry, we're only sanctioned to look for people. We can't help you. And so I was suddenly the panic pet owner on my own. And, AJ wasn't just my pet. He was a valuable tool, but he was my baby, And so I got on the phone and I called my friend Jeannie. Now, I had helped to train her golden retriever in this same method that I had used on AJ. It's called scent discrimination trailing. It's very different than tracking. It's not expecting the dog to go footstep by footstep. It's teaching them to follow the cloud of scent and to discriminate and ignore all the other scents out there and follow just, smell this pillowcase and follow the scent cloud of this person. So we had worked her dog and my dog on a lot of cases together. So we brought her dog Kea out, and I knew that Kea would understand, smell the pillowcase and find the missing person. I didn't know if she'd understand, smell the stinky blanket and find my smelly bloodhound. But she did. She tracked him down in 20 minutes and found him. And that was amazing. That was a paradigm shift in my life where I said, wait a minute. I went home and I sat down and I said, I know how to train dogs to find people. Why aren't we training them to find lost pets? It was like God downloaded this whole idea of, we have drug detection, bomb detection, termite detection dogs, all kinds of detector dogs. Why don't we have cat detection dogs? And why aren't we training dogs to find missing cats and follow the scent trail of missing dogs and go out and physically help families look for their missing pets? Because this was not being done back then. This was 1997 now. And we did have the internet back then, believe it or not. And email. Woohoo! Email. But we didn't have, there was no social media. There was no Facebook groups. Nobody was paying attention to lost pet recovery. I mean, maybe there were a very few. I remember I created a file called my hate mail file, where I had so many people tell me that what I was doing is impossible. You're never going to make a living at this. Like one guy ran a tag company, like 1-800-LOST PET or something like that. And you pay money for this thing to put a tag on your dog. And I was like, and he was like, you're never going to make money at this. And it was like, well, my goal really wasn't to make money, but it really was to pay bills. I want to survive.
You don't need to be rich, but you gotta.
I gotta eat. I hate to tell you, I gotta eat. And I like to eat. Yeah. And so anyway, I did a great job of ignoring the naysayers, because I actually had somebody tell me, you're having a pipe dream if you think you can make a living as a pet detective. Well, that was a wrong thing to say to me. Having been somebody who hadn't the idea that I'm going to become a police bloodhound handler, and then I did it. You don't tell me I can't do this. And so I then kind of announced to the world, really it was to myself, I said, you want to see pipe dream? Watch this. I'm going to dream of this being a service available in all communities. Because by this time, I was starting to go out and, oh, wait, I lost part of this here. I actually took Rachel, my cadaver dog, the Weimaraner, and I thought, as an experiment, I'm just going to see, can I train a dog to find lost pets? Because I put the idea out there through a message board. We used to have those things online too. It was a way to communicate. And I put out there, why doesn't somebody train a dog to find lost pets? Because this just happened to me with my bloodhound. And the normally chatty group suddenly went silent. It was like, I think they were thinking I was a nut, right? Because they were all into, volunteering for law enforcement and police agencies and what have you. And the
right,
the egos and pride that go in with finding missing people and being a hero. But none of them could see the fact that, yeah, but what happens when your search and rescue dog goes missing, or, just think of the amount of people who lose pets on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And but the one person that spoke up said, we know how long it takes to train a dog to find people, because training a scent discrimination trailing dog can take up to a year of a lot of hard work. And he said, why would we waste our time? And that's when I thought to myself, because you obviously don't get it. And so, but I didn't let that stop me, right? So then that's when I said, okay, I'm just going to try it as an experiment. So I took Rachel, put about 3 or 4 months of training in her. On her first 4 searches, she found 3 missing cats. No, I'm sorry, 2 missing cats and 1 missing dog. So there's one case where we never found the pet, but 2 cats, 1 dog, she found them. And the pet owners were so grateful that somebody cared enough to come out. And I was like, I need to do something with this, right? And one of my clients, then I wasn't charging a fee at all. I was just going out on my off-duty time. And one of the clients that I helped, I was looking for their cat, and they said, you need to do this as a business. And I was like, I'd never run a business. I loved working for the government or a police agency where, every 2 weeks they pooped out a check and I got paid, and I didn't have to, struggle and run my own business like I do now. I long for those days. And anyway, so I got permission to start a side business as a pet detective. So I was a full-time police officer. I was in a detective division at the time, and then moonlighted as a pet detective.
Cool.
It's a crazy life, and I've got a lot of crazy stories, and I write about a lot of the things that happen, and some of them were, just amazing.
You had a lot more energy than me.
Then, not now. Yeah. So.
So that started your journey.
That started the journey. Yeah. And so, it without telling my whole life story, but if you have time, I could do that.
Whatever.
Sure.
People can fast forward if they don't want to know.
Yeah. It eventually evolved from a side business to, I tried to develop a national nonprofit organization, and my first attempt at that failed. But ultimately in 2002, I started a nonprofit that was called Missing Pet Partnership. And but by that time I was living back in the Fresno area, and all the other stuff I forgot to mention happened in Santa Cruz. That's where I was a police officer, that I successfully used my dogs and worked a lot of my missing pet cases in the Bay Area. So when I moved to Fresno, I moved in with my mom to take care of her because she had dementia. And I tried to get board members and tried to get funding, but I spent 5 years there and it was just pointless. And so ultimately in 2008, I moved to Seattle, Washington. I always had felt attracted to the Pacific Northwest, and I just loved it there. Immediately had volunteers and donors and things that came forward. And so we were able to launch the first MAR, Missing Animal Response Team.
Nice.
And we began working cases. And I mean, we spent every Saturday, we'd be out there training the dogs. But eventually the dogs that I helped to train there were able to go out and start working cases. And we started finding pets and developing things like calming signals and refining trapping techniques, and even tried to do a drop net, which we had a dog that just refused to go inside of a kennel. And we were able to use a net that dropped down to try to catch that dog, and just tried a lot of other innovative things. And, over the years now, it's just evolved, and especially with Facebook. Facebook Lost and Found groups now have taken off to where there's almost one in every community. But, the majority of those people are not trained through MAR. We kind of missed the boat, because while we were putting out content in our Facebook groups, and I was going to a lot of animal welfare conferences and speaking about the importance of lost pet recovery and showing videos and things of what we're doing, and the use of the game cameras. That was one of my students in 2009 who was the first one to come up with the idea of putting a game camera as a feeding station in order to try to catch, in this case, it was a dog. And so I began talking about that, and we started using them, and I would show pictures of us, here's the missing cat. Look, it's right under the owner's deck. And, and so a lot of our stuff, just organically, because we were putting it on YouTube and on Facebook. A lot of people picked up on it and have developed teams and what have you. So, but before, so I can look back and be very grateful that I remember the days when I would get phone calls or emails from people from Alaska or Florida. I'm on the West Coast. They're wanting to pay me to fly my bloodhounds to come and find their missing pets. And, first of all, the bloodhound or any trailing dog is not the answer to finding the missing pet. The search dogs can be a very viable tool. It's very wonderful when they make a walk-up find, but it doesn't happen all that often because there's many factors involved when a dog goes missing. There's many factors involved when a cat goes missing, and they're two entirely different types of investigations. The way that we search for them, the way that we train dogs to find cats is very different from how we train dogs to follow the scent trail of lost dogs. But we've basically mirrored the science that exists of finding missing people, which is called search and rescue, and it's been around for a long time, applied it towards missing pets and found that it works. Like we're having now, especially great infusion of a lot of drones, of thermal drones that are being used. Some are successful, but there's some people that haven't had any lost pet recovery training that are out there flying drones and chasing dogs. And instead of understanding and knowing how to do surveillance, detect where the dog is, and then work on putting up a feeding station and a trap to try to catch the dog. So yeah, so that's a little bit more on the involvement or the evolution of MAR.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to, click the wrong button. For those of you that are watching the video one, I am just going to, there we go. I'm going to share Kat's website in here. So her website is missinganimalresponse.com. So she does a bunch of training, and there's lots of information on there about helping you find your lost pet. She's also got a directory for people that have gone through the course and are willing to help. So do you want to just tell us a little bit more about sort of what you're offering right now?
Yeah. So we offer a field course which trains you, the searcher, how and where to search for a missing dog versus a missing cat. And we talk a little bit about other species, birds and tortoises. Anyway, other animals. And then, and about things like we cover forensics, lost pet behaviors, the behaviors of the owner guardian are critical, but so are rescuer behaviors and the behavior of the dog or the cat. A skittish dog or skittish cat are going to be much more difficult to recover than the wiggly, friendly dog that's going to come up to the first person who calls it. But so we teach you everything that you need to know in order to successfully go out and either do this as a volunteer or as part of a nonprofit, like you may be a part of a rescue group or something. You can add these services in as something that you offer the community and accept donations or even charge a fee for it. And we have a few people that are going out there and making a business out of this. And most of those that go out and are able to make a business and charge a fee are either those that are training and using a search dog, or those that are drone operators. Those are the two big ones that are fee-based services. Most of the other people going out and hanging the posters or doing the trapping, are often volunteers that are doing that. And so there's kind of a divide too. There's some people that think that you should never take money from people, to charge money to go look for their missing pets. And then there's others that are like, well, the only way, which is true, the only way that I can afford after I've spent all this time and this money invested in training my dog, and if I'm going out there every day working cases, I need to be paid, right? And so, we have a few people that are doing that are traveling to work cases. Oftentimes you're not going to, unless you're in a large city, you won't necessarily have enough people that are willing to pay you or hire you to come and track their missing pet, but they're out there. There really is a need. We need more people and dogs trained up. We have an abundance on the East Coast, especially North Carolina. I gave a class, and there was like 30 people from North Carolina that took the training. And so now all of a sudden we're getting a ton of people in North Carolina, but there's almost nobody in the in the Midwest of the States. In Canada, we finally have somebody in BC who is in Surrey, like outside of Vancouver, who's just killing it. She's got a dog named Halo, and she is just finding lost cat after lost cat. She's mainly cat detection work. Her dog is just brilliant. We'll just zoom, take her to cats. And then, but we have nobody in Alberta. We have a couple trapping people like in Manitoba, and as you start moving east, directions east, that way. We have a few, like one in Montreal, I think, and but we need more. We need more search dog handlers trained in this, because there is a need, in Canada, but also in the West Coast and the Midwest of the States.
Yes. So I'm just going to give my 2 cents, because I took the course, I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago now. And the one thing that I personally didn't think of before I started it was, because I have, obviously people that listen know I have a crazy lab border collie, and she loves to find things, and she's awesome. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to see if she will do this. But taking the course is like, so much of the work is not anything to do with the dogs to get started. Like, there's so much more with social media now, and posters, and searching in neighborhoods and things like that. So if someone is thinking of wanting to get into the work, and maybe you don't have a dog, there's definitely things you can do. We started a small team up here in the middle of BC, and we have some people, all they can do is the graphic design for the poster, and other people are happy to get out there and trap or get in the bush. My dogs are sort of aged out of this now, unfortunately, because Toby's over 15. She's still willing, but so we're looking at training some new dogs here once I'm recovered. But I find it interesting as well, because of the difference between looking for the dogs and the cats, and like through the course, Kat takes you through, all the different personalities and how to search for different personalities of animals. But like, to me, looking for the cats, if you do any type of nose work or like NASDA, rat searching, all of that is so similar to looking for a lost cat, that it's actually relatively easy, if you're already doing all those fun things with your dog, to add in just one more scent, and maybe you can help when your neighbor loses their cat.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and the way that we use the cat detection dogs, cats are territorial. The reason that it's different searching for cats than it is for dogs is they're two different species, and they behave differently when lost, and people respond to them differently when they see them out alone. We call it stray. Trying to teach people to stop using the word stray, because when you use the word stray, there's a lot that involved with semantics, right? When you use the word stray, you're cutting off any type of ownership it makes it so much easier to, I found a stray, instead of saying I found somebody's beloved lost dog that the family is crying their eyes out that they're offering a big reward for, because this is their disabled son's dog that he is crying about, right? So if you think of that, and then you find this animal, and you're it's easier to say you found a stray, or found a dump dog. That's another big favorite. Yes, there are people that will go and dump dogs, but not to the level of how many people find dogs, especially in a rural area. We call it guilt by location. When a dog or a cat gets lost in an area that's rural, out in the woods or whatever, they make the assumption that the animal was dumped out there. But we have many dogs and cats that become displaced or escaped from their family for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's a rollover car accident, and that animal gets out there like that. Or it could be that somebody maybe the dog was dumped, but it wasn't dumped by the owner. It was dumped by a roommate, or there's just so many circumstances involved in why an animal ends up out alone. And so we have a big campaign that we call Think Lost, Not Stray, and trying to encourage and educate people that just because you find a dog, you've got to work aggressively, work backwards to try to find who lost this animal. And the simplest thing is scanning for a microchip, or putting up a big neon found dog or found cat sign right in the area where you found the animal, because invariably if somebody is looking and driving around and looking for it, they may see your sign, call you, and you'll be able to reunite them with their animal. So but it's very, dogs and cats, they're like apples and oranges. And so with the cats, we have, if you can get a cat detection dog trained, and it probably only takes 3 to 4 months to train a cat detection dog. You're just basically shaping, we select dogs that we want, a dog that wants to get the kitty but not get the kitty. So chasing can actually maybe be okay, but it's just we want to make sure the dog is not going to bite or hurt the cat. Because we had one dog, she's on the cover of I wrote a book called Dog Detectives, Train Your Dog to Find Lost Pets. And I'm a terrible author. I've got a book in a box right behind me. I should have had one here to be able to show it, but it's the training manual. So again, Dog Detectives, Train Your Dog to Find Lost Pets. And on the cover of it is my fat orange cat Cheeto that you see. He's in a painting behind me. I no longer have him, but he is playing with this little Jack Russell Terrier named Susie. And that dog, she would scream, ear-piercing scream when she would see Cheeto or know that he was out there hiding from her. But when she got to him, she would lick, so she would lick him. So we want a dog like that, and a dog that has an intensity for cats, because what happens is we have the handler get permission from all of the neighbors that are surrounding the cat owner's home, and we go yard to yard doing a slow, methodical search, and the handler is directing the dog, check this, check this, check this. So the dog is checking under the deck and checking the crack of the opening of a shed and different things like that. And if the dog picks up on the scent of a cat, the dog will just be wagging the tail, whining, whatever its alert is, and to indicate there's cat scent there. And then, we could put the dog away and set up a humane trap, or put out a camera, a plate of food, and work with the owner and instruct them on how to recover the cat. Then once we've detected and found where it's hiding, then it searches into the recovery mode. Right. So,
right. Yeah. So with the lost cats, you're not teaching your dog to find a specific cat like some of the other search. You're teaching them to find every kitty in the area. So again, similar to nose work, you're teaching them to find every hide in the area.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember, I didn't end up with very many searches before I couldn't do it, but the one that I did where we found the cat, the lady was just amazed that my dog was out there going, yeah, it was sleeping here. Yeah, here. Yeah. She's like, every spot that cat was, like in their house and the yard. My dog was like, there's a kitty here. And we ended up being able to trap the cat. So happy ending on that one.
It's not unlike the nose work that a lot of your members and followers are doing with their dog. It's like, once the dog learns what it's supposed to be looking for, and you have that amazing work ethic in a dog that really wants to find what it is that you're trying to get him to find, then it's an added tool, but it's in a very effective method. There's the gal that I was mentioning that's in Surrey. I think her Facebook page is Halo. Her dog's name is Halo. It's a white, I forget the breed. It almost looks like a white German Shepherd, but it's it's a breed. It's not a mutt. And but it's Halo's Pet Rescue, I think, is what the name of her Facebook page is. And her name is Karen Nixon. But I just suggest, if anybody's interested, you can also look her up on Facebook, and just because she posts the videos of recoveries that her dog has made. I also post quite a bit of recoveries in my Substack. So I have a newsletter, and I'm either posting a recovery story, or I've taken my memoir. My memoir is called Pet Tracker. That tells a story of my journey becoming a pet detective and training Rachel and to find missing pets. And I've serialized it now in my Substack. So every week I'm putting out a small bit of my memoir. And what I love about it is when the book first was published back in 2004, again, it never sold. It was in Barnes and Noble and Borders when those used to exist. Maybe it's only Borders that doesn't exist. But anyway, it was in big bookstores, and I went on a big book tour, and it didn't sell. And I don't know if it was because of the, it was called the Lost Pet Chronicles when it first came out. It just didn't sell or do well. But this was before social media. I never had an opportunity to market my book with social media.
Right. Yeah.
And so now, anyway, what I love about writing about it on Substack is I'm now able to add in videos and photographs, which I couldn't do that in the book, and I've expanded stories and told untold stories, like the time that I went on my first SWAT call and forgot my gun.
Oops.
That was a fun one. That was, oh my gosh, and the time I went to gas up my police car, got an emergency call and took off with my lights and siren. Then I'm hearing this clang, 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 clang. And I'm like, what's that? I look behind me in my rearview mirror and I got the rubber hose. I left the tank, the gas tank in my patrol car. Anyway, okay, sorry, not dog related, but anyway, so it's fun. I love adding the funny stuff in there because,
and we'll put links to your Substack and everything in the show notes for those that want to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about the training of the trailing dogs. So with the cat detection dogs, you're just shaping behavior. You do have to train them on cat decomp scent. So, we go to veterinarians and ask them to donate a pair of gonads that they've done a spay neuter or whatever. And so you have to clicker train on that, and you're shaping the behavior and teaching them the cue words of, check this and push and what have you. So a couple things that you have to really train the dog in, but with the trailing dogs, what we're looking for is a dog that has no major so these are dogs that we're going to use to follow the scent trail of a missing dog. But it can we then also cross train on other species, like a missing horse. We had one of our people tracked a wallaby that was missing in Seattle. Yeah. So it can be any type of species, but we start out on dogs. And in teaching that, you would need a dog that loves other dogs, that has no major fear issues, no aggression, reactivity issues. So you want a really solid temperament of a dog. And once they learn the game, and we really just start out, not teaching them to put their nose on the ground, or it's not tracking. We start out with runaway games. It's hide and seek. And it's that the target dog and target dog handler are teasing your dog and then racing off and hiding around a corner, and your dog is like, so excited that it just can't wait to get to them. And then the handler you would be having your dog in a harness and on a long lead, and you'd say, ready, search, and you let go and you run because your dog's going to drag you. And that's one of the big differences between working a cat detection dog is you're just walking leisurely and you're directing where the dog is going. But when it's trailing, it's like, you're running behind the dog, having to keep up. And
I have to say, I watched some old videos of mine recently, and I'm like, oh my God, that was so much
fun. back in the day when I could still run. For me, I'm
I don't know if I was running very well, but
yeah. We have one handler, Belinda Brown, who's in Raleigh, North Carolina. She's out working cases almost every day with her dog. Because she's had several fines with her dog, and she's brought up a second dog, a beagle. Her first dog is a rat terrier, Bravo, and then her second dog, a beagle named Preacher, has just been killing it. And but he just drags her all over the place, And the funny thing is that she has a propensity for the cops being called on her. She was doing a training around a church or a mosque or something, and they called, they were like, what is this lady doing out there running around with a dog? And so they called the police, and the cops come out there. And one time, it was funny, it was in the evening, and she was in a park, and she was bearing some dog gonads for decomp training. And the cop comes up, she's digging, right? And the cop comes up to her like, "Ma'am, what are you doing?" And she explains to him, I'm burying some dog gonads for my dog, training my dog, but she didn't have her dog with her. So he
Oh
was
no.
like, whatever, lady, get out of our park, you know. But anyway, but the trailing part is a process of starting off with these runaway games, and then you just build from there. And so our training program, we have a 10-week, again, we offer the field training that teaches you how to find a missing pet. And we offer that in an 8-week or a 10-week course. The 8-week course is it doesn't have anything to do with the dog training, or it's basically if you're a volunteer and you're not planning on doing this as a business or charging a fee, then you only need the 8-week. But
Right.
if you're planning on doing a business, you need the 10-week, because it includes a section on starting a business or a nonprofit, and then a final unit is videos with the step-by-step training of the search dogs. So that's the field work. Then we have the canine training, and the canine training we offer we do it in 10-week blocks, and it's $750 for 10 weeks. Now, a lot of people have looked at that and thought, "Oh, I only have to spend $750 I'll train my dog in 10 weeks." No, we break it up because we don't just say you have to train with us for a year. We want to break it up because we've had people that start the training and then realize this is more work than I thought it was going to be, or my dog just isn't working out for this, or for whatever reason they aren't able to just continue with the training. And so we do encourage you to just train back to back 10 weeks with us. And that, again, we have 6 different segments of that. So it's about a year of training with us that we would expect you to train fully your dog with us. But if you can't and you don't, then we totally understand that. And then we have people that come and join us, and they've already been involved in search and rescue or already trained. So they're much further along than someone who comes in like, I've never even done anything like this before, right? So those people that are more advanced or prior SAR, search and rescue canine work, can come in oftentimes at a much higher level and only have to train 2 rounds with us or whatever. And so then the cat detection, typically within 1 round, sometimes 1.5 rounds of training, we can get you out there, and we are offering certification. Now, that's something we haven't offered for everybody, but at some point we will offer certification for somebody who, for example, who has already trained their dog, or maybe has SAR canine training experience, and they want to come in and challenge our test or take our test and see if their dog can pass it or not. So we're not there yet with that. And that's one of the hurdles that we've had is, because we're a network, and we have people from all over the world, actually, but primarily in the States and Canada. But we don't have a facility where somebody can easily just come and get certified by us. So we've had to be creative in how we've worked out the certification program by having people film it, and we work with somebody in your area to help give the test and all that. So
Cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm just going to give a point that, because people always ask me like the difference between sort of the cat and the dog searching. So one of the reasons that it's so different is because when cats, especially indoor ones, get out, they hide, and dogs run, right? Do you want to expand on that a little?
yeah. Kind of. Yeah. When panicked, a cat will hide in silence. And so they're often very close, very nearby, especially indoor only cats. When they escape outside, we call that being displaced from their normal territory. And many of them are right in the owner's own yard or the next door neighbor's yard. And so that's why we do that slow, methodical search. It's okay to be putting your missing cat out on Nextdoor and in social media and what have you, but it's imperative that you get permission from neighbors for you to go onto their neighbor's property and look under and in every hiding place, because that's where the statistics have shown that cats are most likely to be. Whereas on the other hand, with dogs, when they're panicked, they will run, but they get out for many different reasons. And when they get out, oftentimes they're, you know, they could be out exploring a scent. They could be, you know, chasing a deer, or they could have just escaped or are meandering, or they were scared because they were involved in an accident, or, you know, a variety of reasons that will cause them to escape and take off. But the interesting thing with dogs is the complicating factor with dogs is when they're found by a person, what that we call that person the rescuer, the first person who sees the dog and decides what they're going to do about it. What they think and believe influences whether that dog's going to end up back with its family. If they believe that that dog was dumped, they're not going to give that dog back, even if it has a collar ID tag on it. If they found this dog out in a rural farm area and they're thinking somebody dumped this dog out here, they're going to think this person doesn't deserve this dog back, or they dumped it and don't want it, so I'm going to give it a new, better home. Where it could, you know, and you just, again, I already said this earlier, you just would be shocked to find out how many dogs and cats go missing on a daily basis. It is an incredible amount. And it's really sad, the amount that don't end up back with their families. And oftentimes it's because of attitudes like finders keepers. Oh, I always wanted a Yorkie. And look, this, you know, and so many people will find, you know, especially a dog, and fall in love with it and just assume that, you know, or don't even care that it belongs to somebody else. So, yeah, so it can be really tough. You know, this work is not for everyone. I had one one gal that took our training and trained her dog said, you know, I got into this work thinking I was going to work with dogs, which she was working with her training dogs, but I found out that I'm more working with people.
Yeah.
You know, because there's always the pet owner part. And, you know, anytime that you're working with the public or working with people, you're going to get difficult people, you know,
Yeah.
people that won't do what you tell them to do. Right. I remember one case, it was an escaped orange tabby that got out. And this woman had told me that this cat was her life. Her mom had died a couple months earlier from cancer, and she said she never cried at her mom's funeral. But when this cat, Marmalade, went missing, she could not sleep at night. She couldn't eat. She was a wreck. And this was the first time I brought my bloodhound AJ out. It was shortly after I had retired from police work and realized I'm never going to work AJ on missing person cases. I never had even trained him on animal scent before. But just like how Kea, the golden retriever, smelled AJ's bedding and found him, I was hopeful that he would smell this cat's bedding and find this cat. And he did. Within 8 minutes, he tracked down, found the cat, but Marmalade was not alive.
Oh.
But the owner, so here the owner is carrying her dead, stiff cat. And she was so thankful. She says, I can't thank you enough. Now I can sleep. Now I can bury my cat. But the funny thing or sad thing was sad or funny, you can say whatever you want. When I first arrived on that case and I opened up my truck door, her husband was outside and he saw me unload my bloodhound AJ and he said, that dog will never find that cat. And I thought, you know, it was not what I needed to hear, because one, I never had trained AJ on cats. I didn't know if he would find it, but I knew if any dog could follow a scent trail, I knew he could, because he had done such excellent work as a police bloodhound.
Right.
And, you know, so you're just going to encounter all kinds of people, all kinds of circumstances and problems, but the work is rewarding. Our network is amazing. If you're a narcissist, I would just say, just stay away, because I can pick a narcissist out of a crowd. And I've kicked a lot of people out of our network for causing problems.
Right.
Because I want it to be a happy, well, it's not always happy, but I want it to be a family type atmosphere, or people that get along. We're not all alike. Nobody really cares about your political beliefs or your lifestyle or what have you. We're all there for the same common reason of wanting to help lost pets and help people find them. But once people start, pushing, boundaries and doing crap, then they're gone. So
well, I have to say, like, I've been a part of the community for, like I said, 5 or 7 years, and it's very supportive. If you have any questions when you're working, people jump in to help from all over the world. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So what am I missing? Do you have anything else you want to say about organization or how to get
Nope.
started?
My book Pet Tracker is on Audible. So if you're on Audible, you can find it there. But you'll find links to my stuff, I guess. But yeah, I can't think of anything else except that, I just encourage you, just know that it's a commitment. It is a commitment, and you got to take breaks from the work because you can get compassion fatigue very easily. It can just easy to get burned out on, but it is a great way to giving your dog a job is just an amazing, I mean, I did dog sports for a little bit. I did the fly ball and I did just a little bit of agility, and that was rewarding. But when I got into doing the scent work, but especially the missing pet work, it just became so fulfilling knowing that you're providing a service that people want and need. And yeah.
I do a lot of dog sports and I love them. But again, part of the reason that I wanted to go into that is, my dogs are really good. It'd be nice to have sort of a practical application for what they do. Like, doing the sports and getting the ribbons is all lots of fun, but
yeah,
finding someone's cat is like totally different, rewarding as getting a ribbon. I mean, I buy my own ribbons when I find a cat too, if I want it. I watched some old videos and because my dogs are retired from this, I put them into finding lost rats, right? Or not lost rats, but rats for for fun. And Toby,
hey, come to my property here. I'll give him a job.
Well, I laugh because Toby's like, whatever, here's another thing, give me the food. And she's like, I get it, whatever. And Harvey, oh my God, he is like, tracks that rat and then he sits down about 8 feet away and he will not go closer. He just looks mortified. Like you can't even drag him with a treat. He's like, no, it's over there.
It's okay.
I don't want to look at it.
You go deal with it.
And then I compared it to the videos of when he was doing the lost cat and he's just like, oh my God, kitty. I'm like, I'm going to finish his training, even though he's kind of old for it, just because he really, really liked it. Like, yeah.
That's I probably wrap it up here by saying that we've had several handlers say that their dogs, when they started this training, actually had a problem with being untrustworthy, reactive. Okay, let's just call it what it is. They were reactive. And in fact, one handler, her dog, unbeknownst to me, because we say no aggressive or no reactive dogs, but unbeknownst to me, she was having to put a muzzle on this dog when she would have him around other dogs. I mean, she didn't do that in the training video. She just wouldn't let her dog go all the way up to the other dog. But now, after I think now that was 5 years ago, she had started training that dog and using him on cases and stuff, and just the training 2 to 3 times a week where he's finding other dogs. He plays with other dogs now. He's totally trustworthy. So it totally took out that reactivity or untrustworthiness in his mind of other dogs. And we've had a couple other people say it's just been such an amazing, joyful experience to see that my dog is able to do this, and it's just amazing because we'll give complicated, the more advanced in the training, we'll be having you work trails that are aged 3 days or 5 days, or we'll have an elevator search is one homework that we give you, where you have the target dog walk a dog into a hotel, go up to like the 5th floor, and get out of in the elevator, and get out of the elevator and go and hide in a corner or whatever.
Cool.
And then the handler brings their dog in, and the dog leads them up to the elevator, and their homework is they have to stop at every floor. So they'll go from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor, open the door, let the dog check down the hallways, no scent, come back into the elevator, go up to the 3rd floor, do the same thing. And then when they get to the 5th floor, they pick up, there's the cloud of scent there, go and find the dog. And it's just, when the handlers see their dogs nail these exercises, they're just like, oh my God, it's amazing. So
dogs are amazing.
They are. So yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking today. For those that are part of the membership, we'll probably do a Q&A with Kat in a few weeks. So just let me know for sure if you want to have her back for that, and we will do that.
Say yes.
Yeah. I'm like, I think she answered all my questions.
We'll have fun. We'll have fun.
Yeah, I like the Q&As. Everybody thinks of other things that I don't think of until later. I'm like, oh yeah, I could have asked that.
There you go. There you go.
Yes. So yes, and definitely check out our stuff. Will be in the show notes and inside the membership. And yeah, think about trying, even just the cat with your dog. If you do any type of scent work like that, yeah, it's just amazing what they can do. But again, thank you so much for coming, Kat.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, take care.
See you.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Dogs Made Easy podcast. We hope you picked up some valuable tips and feel inspired to try something new with your dog. Want to go further? Check out our Dogs Made Easy memberships for exclusive access to extended interviews, detailed training guides, and live Q&As with today's guests. Head over to dogsmadeeasy.ca and unlock even more ways to bond with your pup. Thanks for listening, and remember, with the right tools and knowledge, dogs really can be made easy. See you next time.